Hello and welcome, Jonathan Troen. Am I saying it right?
It's Troen, Jonathan Troen, but
Troen.
that's okay.
Troen.
Close enough, and I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, I can't wait for our conversation. I'm not going to give away what you wrote in the foreword, not everything, just a little bit. What you wrote in the foreword for our upcoming book, Relationships for Men by Men. I was literally blown away by it because it was just so spot on. It was something that nobody else covered, and you didn't even know what was in every chapter, although you do know some of the guys who's written the book. So it was like you had a premonition of what we needed to put in the book to really make it full rounded, and that you provided that missing link. So thank you for that, Jonathan.
It is my pleasure. But to be clear, sometimes it's not even me or us. We have to listen to those divine messages. We get those whispers. Like I typed it, but I don't even know if I wrote it. You get these whispers that most of us ignore. And when you get them, we have to learn how to pay attention to them. And I just paid attention to the whispers, and that's what came out. And I'm so happy that it worked out.
I know what you're saying because when I wrote my first book, I was trying to do it in a very cerebral way. This is what I need to say, and that's what I need to say. And when I started writing, it just happened. And I'm sometimes really astonished. I would read a piece from my book and I was like, what? I wrote that? So I know what you're saying. Let's look at a quote from this book. Let me just check if I've got the right thing here. No, that's not the right thing. Did we get the right thing? There we go. Let's read something that you wrote because I just love this so much. Like it's a this Brené Brown quote. The problem of numbing is that, as researcher Brené Brown taught us, you can't numb emotion selectively. So when you try to be less sad, angry, and afraid, then the result is that you become less happy and joyful. It is a hard lesson to swallow, but you can't be completely happy unless you're willing to be completely sad. So,
Yeah.
Jonathan, how did you learn this lesson? Tell us the story behind the story.
Uh, well, honestly, I think I learned that by watching Brené's Brown video, which I know millions of people have watched, and it really spoke to me because, and I'm not sure I've seen the video a few times because I don't think you get everything the first time. The first time it's just kind of like, huh? And then you watch it again, and then you can begin to learn and hear it and then see how it applies to your life. And what occurred to me is that so many of us, I would say the vast majority of us, have been told when we were young, don't be sad, don't be angry, don't be afraid, and maybe some other don't be's. And I was at the pool the other day. There's a community pool in the neighborhood, and I was at the pool, and there was this kid. He must have been 6 years old. My son's 7, so and I think then he was 6. So it's about a year ago, and he was crying. The 6-year-old kid, and his dad. And I'm not judging his dad. His dad, parents do the best they can do with what the tools that they have. And as Louise Hay taught us, we're all victims of victims. But his son is crying, trying to get out of the pool. He gets out of the pool, and the father goes to him, boys don't cry. 6-year-olds don't cry. And my heart just sank. And we think somehow that in today's day and age, that stuff isn't said anymore. But someone did actually say, don't cry to my son. And I said as kindly as I could, I said, please never say that to him again. If he cries, I always say, it's okay to cry. Now, I might think it's stupid while he's crying. I might not understand why he's crying. I might think there are better ways to deal with this situation. But if he's crying, there's a reason. Like to say there's no reason to cry. If someone's crying, there is a reason to cry. If someone's angry, there's no reason to be angry. No, if someone's angry, there's a reason to be angry. Now, it might be what we think is a stupid reason, and we can teach ways to deal with some of these issues in other manners, but there's a reason. And first, we have to recognize the reason. Okay, someone is hurt, someone's afraid. Let's treat them like humans. And the other thing too is, even if in certain situations, okay, yeah, in this situation, okay, you spilled something, we can refill the glass. There's no reason to cry. But then we begin to apply that to everything. Oh, well, there's never a reason to cry. And what we tell people, what we're teaching people when we say, don't be sad, don't be angry, don't be afraid, is we're saying, don't be human. Because can we point to anyone, even everyone who's been told not to be any of those things, can we point to a single human being on the planet that's never sad, never angry, never afraid? I don't think we can. I mean, people have even asked the Dalai Lama, do you ever get angry? And his answer was, this isn't a quote, but his answer was, of course, and it's what we do with our anger. So he doesn't go shouting and hitting things, but he uses the energy of his anger in a positive manner. But even he, the Dalai Lama, even he gets angry at times. So we strip people of their humanity when we say, don't feel these emotions. And for those, those folks who believe in God, and I always say, if God didn't want us to have these emotions, would would God have given it to us? Would the universe have given us these emotions if we weren't supposed to feel them? We're supposed to feel them. I wouldn't wish a life without sadness on anyone, because there's no growth and there's no learning in that life. We need these emotions. We have to learn to embrace them.
Yeah, you make a very good point. And it is, I really do think it's so that if we start to suppress certain emotions, we just suppress the whole lot. But what we forget is emotions to a 6-year-old doesn't feel the same way they do in the big dad's body. The big dad is looking at emotions from a whole different place. But for a kid, that experience is so much more amplified because kids in nature, just from being kids, are powerless, and they are really beholden to the adults around them. So they're still learning.
And they don't have the prefrontal cortex. It's not formed. So they don't have the ability to go, wait a minute, what's really happening here? Is this worth being upset about? And, here's the thing. So adults, when we get really tired or stressed, it's harder to control our emotions, right? Oh my God, I'm so stressed out today. Or when it's late and we're really tired, it's really hard for us to control our emotions. But yet we expect it from a 4-year-old, a 5-year-old, the 6-year-old, the 10-year-old, the 16-year-old, when they don't even have the prefrontal cortex through which to put these thoughts and go, okay, what's a better way to deal with this? So, I realized that with my own son, I realized that, wait a minute, I'm asking him, it'll be 9 o'clock, way past his bedtime, and he's still doing all this stuff. And I'm trying to say, calm down. And I'm like, I'm asking him to do something which I don't have the ability to do. I didn't have the ability to calm down in that moment because I was tired after a long day and whatever was happening. I'm going, wait, I can't calm down right now. How would I ever expect him to calm down? Yet I'm supposedly basing my ability to calm down on his ability to calm down. I think we as parents are often asking our children to do things we can't do. And then the next step is we try and train them and teach them things like don't cry and don't be angry and just calm down. And then they think they're wrong. They think they're wrong for acting how they are. And I'm not saying we shouldn't be teaching our children how to act in the world and teach them techniques to quiet themselves at night and all those things. Yes, we should be teaching them how to be good human beings that can connect with other people. But turning off your emotions when you don't even have a prefrontal cortex, And by the way, the
Yeah,
reason we can't control ourselves when we're tired is because we lose the connection. The connection to the prefrontal cortex is broken. Like, we just have to start rethinking how we're showing up in life and how we expect others to show up in life.
yeah. And then, of course, then the problem is that that subconscious mind that is wired by the time it's 7, without all these resources, continue to determine what we do, think, react for the rest of our life until we stop and become present. Let me get back to another slide because it's all about the same thing. Because I think what we really want to get to is to we want to talk about how we take these experiences as grown men into our lives.
When we can surrender to the moment, when we can surrender to a crying child and go, oh, I'm not going to try and make that child not cry. I'm actually going to become curious about it. If you're with an adult and having an argument, instead of feeding into it, if you can pause and go, what if I just accept this person's angry? What if I get curious about it instead of trying to defend myself? When we become more accepting, that's when peacefulness comes to us. So, and most importantly, when we suppress our emotions, we lose our connection to other people. See, here's the thing. Humans are wired for connection. And when we shut down our emotions, connection's gone. It disappears. So we really need to rethink our own personal relationship with emotions. Now, sometimes people ask me, well, I don't want to wallow in sadness all day long, so I want to be clear about the difference between wallowing in your emotions and experiencing your emotions. Wallowing really has to do with the story, with the story that you believe is making you feel the way you are. And we get stuck in storyland, and then we need to find blame for it. So usually there's someone to blame, often someone else, sometimes ourselves. You don't want to wallow in the story. These emotions are nothing but feelings in our body, physical sensations, which, maybe we feel in our chest, maybe we feel in our stomach, maybe we feel it in our head or our neck and shoulders or our legs, and we can feel them anywhere. But some of the big ones we feel in our chest or in our stomach. We need to learn how to be with sensations without wallowing in story. Then we can begin to accept our emotions in full.
Okay, so I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, great. Thank you. And sorry that I did that to you, or the storm did that to you. And well done for keeping your pose. Okay, so Jonathan, can we talk about grown men not showing their feelings because of all these things that happen to us? All these belief systems that we have been carrying with us.
Yeah, I mean, and to be clear, women have been told this as well, but it's more often, the don't be sad, we get less, we get told not to be angry, but certainly don't be sad, don't be afraid. And we're also told don't be angry. And then we're told things like, and I saw this being told to another child. Man, it got my heart. His father said, don't be a wuss. Well, so then we got to show, okay, I can't be a wuss, so I got to put on my mask. Well, let me put on my strong and tough mask because I'm not a wuss. Well, then the person we show up, it's not even us. We're wearing so many masks right now that we don't even know what this body feels like. And of course, if we begin to feel, oh man, I need a drink. Right? And this is cultivated in popular culture. I didn't notice this when I was younger, but it amazes me how many TV shows and movies, when someone is going through a difficult time, the first solution is, hey, let's have a drink. So we're trained from very young, and I watched these movies before I was of legal drinking age, but we're taught, struggle? You're struggling? have a drink. So that's also a part of the wiring, of course. And then we blame people for drinking too much. It's like, well, stop teaching me that I'm supposed to drink every time I have what I call not a negative sensation and not a negative emotion, but an uncomfortable sensation or an uncomfortable emotion. We're taught not to have uncomfortable emotions. So we have to cover it up, and we have to stop doing that. We have to stop uncovering up our emotions and learn to feel like crap. It's okay to feel like crap. Then you won't need to cover it up. Then you actually get to feel your humanity. And if you feel your crap long enough, and not wallow in the story, but actually feel your sensations, you might learn something. You actually can talk to your sensations, you know. You can go, why are you here? Even physical pain. There's emotional pain, there's physical pain. You go, why are you here? And it often tells you. Now, listening to it is another thing, because usually it tells us something that we don't believe, or you might hear a little dog in the background. It's telling us something we don't want to believe or don't want to do, or is so against our ego. No. But if you listen to those whispers, we spoke about that earlier. If you listen to those whispers, and if you ask the right questions, Tony Robbins says, you want to change your life, change your questions. So we need to start changing our questions and asking ourselves, why do I feel this way right now? Not to blame something, not to blame, oh, because of that person. No, but what a better question even than why do I feel this way is why are you here, or what am I supposed to learn right now? What am I supposed to do differently right now? And you will get an answer. And then it is up to you to follow those instructions and get the learning that comes from it. What most of us do is, even if we get the answer, we don't do it. So then we wind up in this cycle. We go back. It's like the person who hates their job. So they quit their job, and they'll hate their boss, and they'll quit their job, and then they get another job and they hate their boss again. Or you're in a relationship you don't like, so you break up and then you get into another relationship, you don't like it again. It's because the learning wasn't there. So you actually have to have learning, and then you get bounced out of that circle. Now, to be clear, you're in another circle of learning, and you will be bumped up again. It'll be bigger problems, right? Another thing Tony Robbins says is, I don't want you to have no problems. I just want you to have bigger and better problems, right? I don't wish you a life with no problems is life with no learning, right? So you have to feel the pain, you have to feel the problems, and now it's time to learn from it. And we need to learn how to have compassion to ourselves through this process, so that we can feel the emotions that are trying to actually teach us something.
Yeah, because we try to regulate ourselves by distracting ourselves, and that would be the beer, or going and go out running, or having the angry explosion to get it out of you. But we don't understand that the leaning into the feeling, the allowing of a feeling, that is, which is another way of regulating it. So we're scared of allowing the feeling, because we don't understand that allowing the feeling is the real regulating of a feeling. And so we just don't know that.
Yeah, it's so fascinating. So I caught myself. I never told my son not to cry, but what I caught myself was trying to stop his crying, trying to make him feel better, right? And I caught myself several years ago. I caught myself doing that, and I go, "Oh, wait a minute, what am I doing? This is against everything I'm teaching." But who wants to see their child in pain? But then I said, "Okay, I have to try something different here." And life is a series of experiments. I experimented. What if I just let him cry? Be there for him. Don't like leave the room and let him be there. Be next to him and just let him cry. It's okay to cry. I'm here if you want to hug. If you want to sit there, you can sit there. And here's what I found. And it happened time and time again. After about 10 minutes of crying, he started cracking up. And then I'd become curious and go, "What's so funny?" And he's like, I just thought of a pizza in the shape of a taco, or something like crazy. But he was allowed to process it himself, instead of me trying to shut it down so that it got stuck inside of his body somewhere. It just ran its course, and 10 minutes later he's cracking up, and then we start playing again. And if we let these emotions just run their course, we'll be okay. Again, not wallowing in the story, as I said before, but just sitting with the physical experience. That sucks. I get it, right? But it's the whole idea of, a lotus only grows in mud. You gotta be in the mud. If you want to be a beautiful flower, you got to be in the mud. If you want to get to the beauty of life, you can't bypass sadness. You got to go into it. If you want to be truly successful, you got to go into the fear. Success is not around fear. And sometimes I used to say it's on the other side of fear. And maybe I'm not even sure if it's on the other side of fear or just in the middle of the fear. Like I really don't know at this point. But I do know you have to go into it. You have to go into the fear, experience it. I talk about practicing courage. That's being afraid. Like courage is not, people say, oh, that person's so courageous. Courage doesn't mean being not afraid. Courage means being afraid and doing it anyway.
Yes.
Recognizing the fear and doing it anyway, and going to the center of the fear.
I think we have to become unwilling to believe the fear. We've got to remember that the fear is that of a 6-year-old that we're still carrying with us. So as an adult, when we learn this really handy trick to understand that the fear is valid because it's coming from our 6-year-old, we can then, in a logical frontal lobe manner, say to ourselves, I am not going to believe this fear anymore. I'm going to do it anyways. You are actively reparenting your own 6-year-old, 12-year-old, 16-year-old. So you're doing it in the moment, reparenting your 6-year-old by the parenting which you now know is more healthy. And so therefore you are finishing stages, and therefore you can move on to next stages successfully, where you can then start to look at fear from an adult way. I agree with you. Fear is logical. Fear, we're supposed to have fears. It's not something to reject, but we don't have to give into it. We don't have to let it stop us. We just have to acknowledge it.
And I want to be clear, practicing courage. Courage is a skill. It's not a trait. It's a skill. A skill means it's something like piano or basketball or any of these things that you can practice and become better at it. Courage is a skill. You can practice it and become better at it. You might even suck the first few times you try it. Being with physical sensations, if you've never done it before, is quite difficult, because you don't want to feel it and you've been taught not to feel it. So do it for just a minute. Don't sit there for a half hour struggling. Do it for a minute and then go for your job. Then next time do it for 2 minutes.
I want to differentiate between different kinds of fears, because if I go on a mountain pass with my bike, I'm thinking, you know what, this is a very logical place to have a fear, because it's a dangerous place and I have to be careful. So it's a good thing to have a bit of fear.
Yeah, it's okay to be scared. You're only going to have success in your life if you allow yourself to be scared. If you don't allow yourself to be scared, you will be stuck exactly where you are right now, or actually, it gets a little worse, because you have the comfort zone and you have the courage zone. Now, the more you practice courage, your courage zone expands. So we've all done this. We've done things that we were afraid of. We did it, and we look back and go, oh, that wasn't so scary. That wasn't as hard as I thought it would be. Okay, now your courage zone has expanded. You got to go out here. You need to keep expanding it. But if you don't, what happens is that your comfort zone shrinks. So whereas you were comfortable, doing all these things, if you don't move into your courage zone, it starts getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And so it's not that you'll stay where you are, you'll shrink. So you have to begin practicing courage, expanding your courage zone so that you can continue to learn, to grow. And when we learn and grow, we connect with other human beings, which is where, I don't know, about 10 minutes ago, the question started, about why we need to connect, how we're wired to connect with humanity. And that comes from emotions and learning and growing.
Which brings us back to where we started, where we want to say to our, and we're talking to men now, because when we talk to women, we talk about different things, because women are more taught not to be angry, be a good girl, be a nice girl. People won't like you. You know, women are more taught that way. But I think for men to give themselves that permission that it's okay, they can feel, they can explore the emotions. They don't have to guilt themselves anymore. They don't have to believe the stereotype anymore. And then, I mean, really for everybody to stop feeling their feelings, because this is something that we can stop doing. We don't have to fear feeling our feelings.
Yeah. We have to give ourselves permission. See, we're waiting for someone else to give us permission. And
Mm-hmm.
we have to give ourselves permission. Okay, you know what? I'm going to practice today feeling something. But two things. One is we need to give ourselves permission first, as to model for other people, right? Because if we start doing it, those people around us might go, "Oh, wait a minute, what's going on there?" And then those who are parents need to start modeling and teaching differently to our children. And when they're angry, saying, I understand. It's okay to be angry. And celebrate when they're able to articulate their
Mm-hmm.
emotions. He came home
Love
from
it.
school the other day and shared a difficult moment. And I just celebrated how great for you to be able to share that with us. Then after a while, we went on, well, how could we deal with the situation with ease? But we have to start celebrating when our children have emotions, even when those emotions are driving us nuts.
Yeah, even if we don't agree with it, it just makes space for it. I've got a good question here for you
Mm-hmm.
from Mitch. Okay,
Most
so most of
adults
the
are more in
order.
touch with their feelings. What about those of us who are new to this? Practice. Mitchell, practice. Start small. This isn't a marathon. Like think of a hobby that you have that you're good at now that you weren't. Practice for 1 minute, just experiencing it. And for some, the emotional experiences are too hard to go to. So you feel the physical. Okay, sit in your chair, and everyone can do this with me right now, everyone. You're sitting in a chair, feel the pressure of your sit bones on the chair, right? People say, I can't feel anything. Oh, no, feel the sit bones on your chair. Do you feel, is it hard or soft? Is it a heavy pressure or a light pressure? It's that simple. Then you go through the body. Feet. Are your feet on the floor? What's the pressure? Are you barefoot next to a hard or soft surface? Are you wearing socks? Are they rough? Your clothes, are they smooth or rough on your body? Right? You touch yourself. Go like that. Feel. What does it feel like? What does it feel like? Don't be mean when you do it, right? So start on a physical level, feeling. And then you can go to the emotional level. Okay, what does it feel like when I'm sad? Well, my throat gets a little tight. Now, don't go to the story, but go, okay, I almost feel like I can't breathe, right? Feel it. Or if you're angry, okay, do this one. This one is a good one in traffic. If you drive in a place that has traffic or red lights. When we're in traffic or at a red light, what you'll notice is most of us are impatient. We begin to grip the steering wheel and our shoulders rise up, squeezing our neck. Now, that's not going to make the traffic go faster or the light change. So when you notice you're stuck at a red light, just notice tension in my shoulders, hand squeezing. And you will notice that they begin to release automatically. You don't need to release them. If you just observe, they will release. Maybe not fully the first time, but your hand, oh, my hands are gripping. They immediately lose the grip. The shoulders drop a little bit. Practice it in those easy situations and begin to notice what happens to your body. And then you go to the deeper situations for longer periods of time. So anger, my heart is beating, my chest is tight. Okay, there's anger inside of me. Don't fight it. The minute you fight it, it fights back. Oh, anger's like, oh, you think you're going to get rid of me? No. And then it gets stronger and stronger. You guys have noticed that. You try and get rid of sadness, you get sadder. You try and get rid of anger, you get angrier, right? When you say don't be angry, you're welcome, Mitchell. Very welcome. When you say don't be angry, anger's going, no, I'm angry. But when you say, I see you, anger, I see you. And this is from Thich Nhat Hanh again. Say to your emotions, I see you. I hear you. I will not fight you. I'll be here for you as long as you need me to be here. When you say that to your emotions, they stop fighting you. They stop fighting you, and your body begins to release. And if you do that for 1 minute, 2 minutes, and eventually 10 minutes and 20 minutes, your body begins to release the tension. For some deep-seated things that have been there since childhood, okay, maybe longer, maybe some days. But we have to stop fighting our own bodies. We have to stop fighting ourselves. And when we stop fighting ourselves, we stop fighting other people. See, everyone has this simple need to be seen, heard, and understood. Okay, I'll say it again. You and everybody you know has the simple need to be seen, heard, and understood. When we deny our emotions, we're not seeing the person. We're not understanding the person. Understanding doesn't mean you agree with them. It just means you understand them. So we have to start seeing and understanding ourselves. Oh, I'm angry. Oh, maybe it's because that's what someone taught me. My parents taught me when I was a child. Don't blame them. They did the best they could with the information they had. And as soon as we can really see, hear, and understand ourselves, it makes it easier to see, hear, and understand others, even when we disagree with them, because we realize that everyone's just afraid and everyone just wants to be seen, heard, and understood. Well, so we spoke about that, so what about those that are new to this? You just have to practice it. But so I'll go a little deeper on the practice. If you go to the piano and you've never played piano before and you practice today, and then you come back next month and practice, you're still going to suck. And if you come back the next month, you're still going to suck. So people will do this. They'll sit down and meditate and go, oh, that was really hard. I was horrible at that. By the way, no one's a horrible meditator. Your thoughts are going to go. It's just a part of meditation, right? So people will meditate and then they won't do it again for a month. They'll try again and they won't do it again for a month. They'll try again and they go, why isn't anything changing? So if you want to get better at something, you got to practice every day. So I'll tell clients, when we're starting out, I'll say, set your alarm for 12 o'clock. And at 12 o'clock, when the alarm goes off, pause for 1 minute, 60 seconds, and notice what you're feeling. So it's not that they're doing it when they're feeling sad or when they're feeling happy. It's just random. What are you feeling right now? Notice it. And what's the physical sensation? Well, I'm sitting in the chair and it's a hard surface, or the emotional sensations. Oh, I am feeling a little stressed right now at work. 1 minute. That's it. And then when they practice, I'll say, well, go to 2 minutes. And you know what? Set your alarm for twice a day. Do it at 12 o'clock, do it at 3 o'clock. And then we begin to build more times, maybe once an hour. So once an hour for 1 minute, I'll check in with myself, because you shouldn't be typing on the computer and all for hours on end anyway. Like, you should be taking these pauses, right? And then I'll say 5 minutes. So set your alarm. I forget who created this particular workflow, but it's you do 25-minute pieces at a time. So you set your alarm for 25 minutes, you work as much as you can, and then you stop for 5 minutes, and then you go back to it. Some people do 55 minutes. So, but spend those 5 minutes, get a drink and whatnot, but notice what you feel and begin to practice that every day. Don't wait until you feel a difficult sensation, a difficult emotion. Don't wait. Start now. What am I feeling right now? And do it for 60 seconds. And then in a week, try 2 minutes. So there's another question from Mitchell here. When does being vulnerable cross into being needy? No one wants to be seen as needy, at least not me. That is a spectacular question that no one has ever asked me before.
That's
So
really a good question.
I'm going to pause because sometimes when we get questions, we don't like silence, so we just have to spit out an answer. So I'm going to pause and listen to what the answer to that really is. Okay. Vulnerable is being courageous enough not to hide. And it's being courageous enough to share with those who are closest to you and who care about how you're feeling. So a couple of keywords I said in there. People who are closest to you and care. That doesn't mean you need to go to your boss at work and say, I'm angry. I mean, if there's something at work that needs to be fixed, you can go to your boss and say, hey, we got a situation here. I need your help on solving this problem. If you need a mental health day, take a mental health day. Hopefully your company offers them. If you run a company, hopefully you offer them. You don't need to complain to your coworker, right? Complaining is not vulnerable. Complaining is not vulnerable. Did I say complaining is not vulnerable? Because that's really important to understand. Complaining is not vulnerable. Vulnerable is sharing something that is going on with you to those closest to you who care, who can hold space for you. Now, needy is wanting them to fix it for you. They might not be able to fix it for you. It might not even be able to be fixed. Some things can be fixed, some things can't be fixed.
When you want somebody to fix you, then when you are looking at the other one to fix something that's inside you, then you are being needy. But you are supposed to have needs, and there's nothing wrong with having needs. And take responsibility for your own needs, because when you take a responsibility for your own needs, you are not needy. But you have, it's your job to take responsibility for your own needs. Let's look at this one.
So this is a good question. So how does one escape feelings they have adopted from others? I feel a certain way because it is learned behavior and not my true feeling. You need to unlearn it. And you need to unlearn it and then relearn. And we talk about neuroplasticity and rewiring your brain, and that's really what it is. So you the first step is great. You've recognized that you have a learned behavior that you've adopted from others. Well, so that's the first, is recognizing it. The second is making sure you're not blaming them. Not their fault. If it is their fault, doesn't matter. You still need to separate. Blame is the story. Okay, the fact is I have a behavior, doesn't matter where it came from, that I don't like. Okay. What would when I'm doing that behavior, or when I have that feeling, well, you say learned behavior. So when I'm doing that learned behavior, what would I rather be doing? So let's say the learned behavior is to have a drink when you're not feeling great. Okay. Well, what else could I do? All right. What if I did 10 push-ups? Now, in a way, that still is, okay, I'm changing it, but better than the drink. Okay, what if I did 10 push-ups and then watched my sensations and what I'm feeling? Then what if I reverse it? What if I watched my sensations for a minute, just sat with it, and then did 10 push-ups? So choose what you would rather do, right? So when my son is crying, sometimes it just kills my brain, especially if it's 9 o'clock and I'm tired. So I'm dysregulated. Not his fault, my fault, because I'm dysregulated. And I don't want to yell at him. I'm not saying I've never yelled at him, rarely, but sometimes I was so dysregulated that I yelled. Then I apologized. Learn how to apologize, folks. So I apologized. So that didn't have anything to do with you. That had to do with me. So good. I'm teaching him how to apologize when he messes up. So what I do in my head now is, okay, I know it's going to happen again. I might want him to go to bed at 8 o'clock and never cry at 9 o'clock again. But I know for a fact it will happen again. So I go, okay, when it happens, what do I need to do? Okay, I'm going to need to take a breath and regulate my own nervous system because he's in dysregulation. If I'm in dysregulation too, then we have two dysregulated people going at each other. So I can't expect him without a prefrontal cortex to regulate. Let me regulate. Okay, so I regulate myself. I know how to regulate myself. Exhale longer than my inhale. Hold my hands up. It's hard to be mad when your armpits are open. Lots of ways to regulate yourself. So I regulate myself, and then I approach him, and I go, I understand. You're having a difficult time now. Or I approach the situation. So what you want to do if you want to change your behavior is choose ahead of time how you want to treat the behavior. Let's say I was brought up in a city called Boston, Massachusetts, where we are very proud of our road rage. And if someone tries to cut us off, we race around them. And that was a badge of honor. You think you're going to beat me? So now what do I do? If two things. One, if someone cuts me off, I wish them well. And two, if I see someone trying to get in, because in Boston, someone's trying to get in, you think you're getting in front of me? You get as close as you can to that car in front of you so they wouldn't have enough room. And you don't care if they miss their exit or miss their turn. They're not beating you. It was a learned behavior. Now, if I see someone trying to get in, I slow down and I let them in. Now, to be clear, sometimes I'm the guy that's in a rush because I didn't plan my day very well, and I hope someone's nice to me, and I'm that guy that cuts someone off. And I hope they wish me well, right? I'm that guy too. See, that's another way to look at this is we have to understand we're really all the same. We've all been the person that cuts someone off, and we've all been the person that gets pissed off when we've been cut off. Right? If you're in a car, I think most people know, maybe you live in the country, it doesn't happen. But most of us have been in this situation. So when someone's trying to cut you off, you have to realize, oh, I've been there too. Maybe they just didn't see me. Maybe they're in a race to get somewhere because they're late. Maybe they have to pick their child up from school. A myriad of reasons. Oh, I'm not in a rush. Go in. So I relearned my behavior. I see someone with a blinker on, and my relearned behavior is to let them in. Now I'm using intentionally these really little things, right? Like cutting someone off in traffic, right? And not the big things that are going to cause great emotions. But if you practice in these little places, one, you'll be able to do it in the bigger places. And we all have different big places. But the key is whatever your learned behavior is that you don't like, choose what behavior you want, and next time do it. And when you fail, do it again. When you fail, do it again. And that's it.
Yeah, that's a really good example. You're talking about don't take things personally, no matter whether it is in traffic or whether it is in your relationship. Get into the habit of not reacting to stuff because you take it personally, and rerouting and applying that to anything in your life that you want to reroute, including the fear of emotions that we've been talking about, and including the learned behaviors that we've picked up from other people. So it is that awareness. I think you've said that once you know about something, the awareness, you can go and you can change something. Yeah. When I couldn't talk just now, when my internet was terrible, I was wanting to tell you about my new best thing, which is Tai Chi, which I've just started learning. So it's become really now for me a non-negotiable that I want to go to it every single week. But as I do the exercises, I have to be so conscious of all this tension I'm carrying in my shoulders. And it's such a learned behavior. Mm-hmm. And I have to really commit myself to the practice of Tai Chi. I am going to go do it everywhere. And my teacher has said to us, even if you do a 2 or 3 minute exercise every day, just so that you can get into the flow of becoming aware. And for me, it's a very big thing, this tension that I'm carrying in my shoulders. And to have a practice, whether it's Tai Chi or yoga, or whether it is just sitting for a few minutes a day with yourself, to just become aware of what's not working for you, and then how you want to, how you choose to focus on building another new pathway. So I'm very excited about my Tai Chi, because I think it's going to rewire my brain to let go
Yeah,
of some of the tension that I carry in my shoulders.
it definitely rewires your brain. And I want to point out too, when you do Tai Chi or yoga or sit, to be aware. When you are aware, be aware of all of it. Be aware of what's not working for you. Be aware of what is working for you. Right? Sometimes we're so focused on the negative, like you know, we started off, about this. Don't be sad and don't be angry. No, notice when you're sad. Notice when you're angry. Notice when you're happy. Notice when you're
And that,
joyful.
and that is that quote. That's that quote that shutting down our emotions shuts down our connection, and shutting down our bad, what we call bad, we label them bad. Shutting down those emotions shuts down most of our emotions until we have a very narrow range. And that is true for men and women. I've just had a client this week, a 60-year-old woman, who went and found feelings charts and going through them and going like, what is the feeling I'm feeling? But I don't even have a name for this feeling. I'm looking for it. Discovering my feelings when I'm 60 years old. Because suddenly I've given myself the permission through that awareness that there's more.
And don't get caught up with names. It's like the native cultures in Canada. They have 30 names for snow. I call something snow. They have 30 names for it, right? So when we look at the emotions, if we really break down sadness, right? Sadness is an English word that we've put on particular sensations in the body, right? If you live somewhere else, you wouldn't call it sadness. You'd call it something else. Right. But if you really break it down, well, sometimes when I'm sad, I feel it in my throat. And sometimes when I'm sad, I feel it in my stomach. Right. So there are even different types of sadness. Don't get caught up in what you're calling the emotions. Do become observant and aware of the physical feelings you're having in your body. That's what's important. Get to know your body. Get to know this temple we have here. We've been told to disconnect from it. We've been taught to disconnect and focus on everything else out there and focus on all the other people out there. And one day you might even be as good as some of those other people out there. No, let the other people out there be. Connect with them lovingly, but begin observing this body. Begin loving this body. Everything that you really like about it, everything you don't like about it, love it all. That's the pathway to success. That's what the pathway to joy. You have to start loving the you that is here, just the way it is. Imperfectly perfect, perfectly imperfect, all of it. We have to learn to be kind to this body. And if it's an emotional feeling, yeah, okay, hey, I've been programmed to respond a certain way. We call some of these disorders, right? Right. ADHD is a disorder, right? Attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. PTSD is a disorder, post-traumatic stress syndrome. And these are disorders. No, they're just physical responses. Our body has physical responses to various input.
I must take this chance to end, and then let's have another conversation sometime when I can actually ask questions and take part in this. So I want to thank you because you've been brilliant, and I've been very lucky to have somebody who can really keep the conversation going with so much wisdom. So I want to thank you for that. You've been brilliant. I have been able to listen to most, even although I couldn't really speak. But thank you so much for that. Mitch, thank you for your excellent answers, because you also kept it going really well. Everybody, I always ask for hearts this time. When we are there, Mitch knows I'm always asking for hearts. So thank you, Mitch. And everybody, please, if you know of somebody that is repressing their emotions, whether it's male or female, please share this with them, because it really helps to get this kind of input. I want to say to Mitch that all the authors in this book didn't start out just sharing their feelings. They all had a journey to go through. And even being on a summit and even writing this is another part of their journey of expressing their feelings. And I am really excited for everybody to read this book. We are going to bring it out very, very soon in the next few weeks. And it's an excellent book. And thank you so much for your contribution, Jonathan. It's
Thank
awesome.
you.
And so please promise me that we will have another conversation, one in which I can actually take part. But thank you so much for your professional contribution to our conversation tonight.
It's been an honor.
Much love to everyone. And we're doing the same thing again next week, same place. And we're going to be talking to another one of our authors. And please join us and spread the word, share, give us a like. If you have any questions, continue to post it. We will come back. Much love to everyone. Thank you, Jonathan.